Hello, nerds, and welcome. We are crossing the Nerdverse, bringing you yet another episode. My name is Travis. I am joined, as always, by my fantastic co-hosts, Eric, Ryan, and Clark. I am back on the show after missing a couple of weeks due to family obligations, but I'm back and ready to roll. This week, we're going to be talking about hot takes, and that's going to be anything video games, movies, anime, manga, manhwa, just to make sure we have all of Clark's weird niche things covered.
Sure.
And then whatever tentacle thing that Ryan wants to talk about.
Oh,
But-
you have no idea yet.
Yeah.
I just
We're going to
found a
save that
new
towards the end.
manga
That way
for
the
him.
censors.
It's called Tentacle Cavern. And I was like, this I should buy him.
Yeah. Ryan's like, I've
So-
hardback.
Firstly, hey. And secondly,
sick, you can't
it
be mad
sounds
at
kind
me.
of cool.
I'll read it.
I mean, I'll read it.
Wouldn't be bad
But hey,
for science.
it's educational, really.
Ryan's
Yes.
like, thanks for thinking of me.
But yeah, so we do have a really exciting episode tonight, guys. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm really nervous about it. But before we get into the hey, how are yous, I'm going to do the normal thing I always do at the beginning of these episodes
Yell at us.
and yell at everyone about everything. No, thank you all for tuning in, especially those of you that are checking out our live streams. We are out across multiple platforms right now. We are going to once again ask you guys, if you are enjoying the show, if you enjoy listening to four random ass nerds talk about nerd stuff, give us a like, give us a comment, a follow, a subscribe. We are looking to expand on a lot of our kind of bases, so to speak. We would like to be able to move up into the world of being able to do things like live videos on Spotify, not live videos on Spotify, but videos on Spotify, and be able to go live on YouTube more consistently. And the more interaction that we get from you guys, the better it is for us, the smoother things go, and the more we can keep making this content. Now, ultimately, your viewership, your listening in is more than enough for us, but though that little bit of extra interaction, if you are liking the content, would be super appreciated.
It always helps out. Eric, how was your week?
Not too bad.
Awesome.
Put together a bunch of miniatures.
Yeah.
Realized that I have butterfingers and am not made for fine work.
I do have a question in regard to that. Are you a assemble and then paint kind of guy, or a paint and then assemble kind of guy?
So far I'm just an assemble type of guy because I want to see what I enjoy
Yeah,
with
great
it.
plastic.
So
Majority
like,
of Warhammer, yeah, standard gray.
Gray plastic.
so yeah, I've assembled the pieces. Even my daughter assembled her little army of Space Marines.
What
We're
faction?
gonna. Whatever's in the starter kit. We literally bought the generic starter kit.
Ultramarines, big
So
blue boys.
So we bought that. So we're gonna put
Custom
it together.
Custom chapter.
And then
Just do it.
She's doing Space Wolves if she enjoys it and like we get into it.
Yes.
She's a huge Space Wolf person. So
Love
we're
that.
gonna do that, but I just want to see if we're gonna enjoy playing it and stuff like that. So
How is-
we got the figures
how is it that
together and we're
Clark
gonna
does
try.
it?
Oh,
Yeah, there you
are
go.
we doing all these hand gestures?
Yeah.
Or you can do these like
Sorry,
baby hearts.
She was like,
We're
we
throwing
flashed up
The
gang
McDonald's.
signs.
Throwing gang signs out here.
Pizza
Anyways.
town.
But yeah,
H1
so that's been
wow.
most of my week is either miniatures or work. Yeah, and
Feel you.
Taekwondo for my kids. Ugh.
I would
I
have been
thought
way
you were
more
about to say
excited if it was for
Taekwondo
you.
with kids, and I was like, I feel really good. Like I beat the crap out of these
Yeah.
like
That's how I
10-year-olds.
build That's how I build up my self confidence.
Yeah, build up the self-esteem. Yeah.
Yep.
I've been kicked out of a lot of jujitsu classes because I keep hitting the 5-year-olds, but they shouldn't get on the mat
Hey,
if they ain't ready.
Yeah, I
to
was gonna say
rumble,
if they want to roll. We're rolling.
Turns out I'm just a really bad referee. So.
Luckily, all of this is actually very on topic for tonight. So
Is it?
Sort of.
Hot take, you can
Sorta.
beat up children. What?
If they're old enough
well,
to take
anyway,
jujitsu lessons.
we're gonna skate right by that terms of service line there, and
See how Clark's week was.
There's no way that's called out in the terms of service that you can't imaginarily kick children at a sport.
It's an advocation thing. I guarantee
Oh,
they can get
okay.
at us.
That's fine.
Like,
Do not kick
I
real
never said it was
children.
right or wrong. I just said
Yeah.
it was easy.
the
That's
subject
fair.
matter. The subject matter in tonight's
Dude.
episode may or may not actually represent the true opinions of Crossing the Nerdverse and its affiliated
Yeah,
services.
go through
So,
the big legal disclaimer.
My week was okay. Every few months, my husband will attempt to bring home a cold that catches me, and for the first time in a very long time, he has succeeded, and I am mad. No, it just happens. So I am getting
Felt
over my cold. I am still 3D printing crap, and I've made this tiny little fidget knife, which I am now just like playing with.
obsessed with.
Yeah, I am gonna break this by the end of the night and then go 3D print myself a new one, um, because of how much I'm playing with it. And that, yeah, it was a pretty good. I've mostly just been sick and watching really trash anime. Well, I can't call it trash. It's just like throwaway anime, like Parallel World Pharmacy, where it's got like one
Where do
season.
you find all of these?
dude, the niche
Farming
stuff
life
that she
in another
pulls out.
world.
Wow.
I just,
Uh,
when you
My
scroll to
favorite
the bottom of
isekai
Crunchy,
slice of life is like a farming isekai. Like,
Yeah,
what
farming
is.
isekai.
yeah, farming life in another world where he
Oh, I
gets
would be
like,
so pissed. You just wake up and suddenly you're the owner of this like 10,000 acre
no,
farm
he
with all these
wanted to
giant
be a little
machines.
farmer. And he has like the ultimate farming tool, which turns out like can kill God. It's great.
Was he isekai'd by a jingle truck? Because that seems to
No,
be the most common thing.
no, he wasn't isekai'd by Truck-kun. He worked himself to death. And he was like, you
Farming,
know
and
what?
then they just gave him
No,
another farm.
in an office job, and he was just like, I want to slow down my life. And so he asked God if he could be a farmer, and everybody in the universe wants to be his, like, he has an entire village and it's all ladies. I think there's like 3 old dudes, like 3 dwarf dudes. Everybody
it's a harem
wants
isekai
it
about
is,
farming.
but he has a wife, so it's fine, and she's a vampire.
Because that makes sense.
You can't just vomit words out.
Yes, I can. That's the story. I can if they all go together.
How bad is your fever?
I watched this before I was 6, sirs.
Oh man.
I got you on an entire anime about a guy who gets isekai'd and turned into a vending machine, and it is peak. It is it's goated.
That is pretty.
Yeah.
That is a pretty solid one, just because it's so. It's one of those ones where it's like
yeah.
it's so
I don't wanna hear
intentionally
it.
awful. It's probably one of the greatest things.
But it's not. It's like really well animated, which I think irks me even more.
Yeah, somebody put in
Notice
a bunch
me,
of effort
Venpai.
to make a really terrible anime, and they were like, "We want the
Also-
artwork to be good," and they were like, "Yeah, we want the combat scenes to be like fairly fluid. Yeah, we want compelling support characters. Yeah, tell us about our protagonist. So he's a vending machine." And that guy over there is just like sitting next to Snoop Dogg and is just like, sounds great, man. Print it. I like all of this.
Yeah, I can't wait for season 2 of that time I was reincarnated as a vending machine and now I travel the dungeons.
Guys, you made me laugh so hard I cried. Ryan,
We
how
got
was your
5
week?
people now.
We got 5 people.
All
Hello,
here
5
to
people.
hear about my
Yeah.
shitty anime takes. Let's go.
Hey, here's what we've noticed, and this is no joke. Whenever Clark goes off about niche anime, our viewership goes up. So you are not alone.
Everyone is here to hear about my very weird Who's Bondo list. Pop is a vending machine. Second, a slime.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know that I'm ready for tonight. My week has been cool.
Lord Rimuru is our Lord and Savior.
I'm just gonna skate right past that one.
Why, you watched 2 seasons of that show with me.
I know.
You can't.
I know. So this week's actually been a deviation for me. Because we're on the subject of deviation, why not just stick with it? So I have this thing whenever I'm writing that it's whenever you get stuck, right? Like a lot of people will talk about it like it's writer's block or it's this or that. Whenever you get stuck, I have a thing that I automatically do. And so I'll step away from actually trying to get my word count up or get my page count up. And I'll move to my little conspiracy board that I have over here. And I'll start working on setting stuff. Just weird little details about the setting that, in truth, will never make it into any of the books. Like, it won't be relevant for anybody but my imagination as I proceed. And I got onto this kick this week. And in truth, it was inspired because my oldest daughter is very much like I was at her age. She's into the strange stuff, right? Like she's not big into dressing up. She doesn't do a lot of the normal like kid stuff. She's into spooky stuff. She likes bats and spiders and shit. And the types of books that she reads are very like YA fantasy style books. And she was frustrated because she likes goblins. She is a huge advocate. She's had a stuffed goblin since she was an infant, and she likes goblins. And she told me she was really frustrated one day because she can find plenty of books about dragons or elves, but nothing about goblins.
And we're not letting her watch Goblin Slayer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that
gonna say,
one.
absolutely. That is not
Don't get me
recommended
wrong.
for
Yeah,
children. Period.
Not for
Do
children.
not let your
Okay.
kids
I'm not
watch
saying I'm
that.
a great parent, but I'm doing good enough so far.
I'ma just saying.
So what I
Episode 1 is definitely not for
That's
anybody
Ryan's hot
with
Yeah.
a
take.
weak
Goblin
stomach.
Slayer is for children.
yeah, Goblin Slayers for kids.
Parents out there, please do not let your children watch Goblin
Yeah,
Slayer.
I mean, you do you, but it is not. We here at Crossing the Nerdverse do not recommend
Yeah, we
Goblin
can't.
Slayer for young children. So no, I actually did something I normally don't do,
Okay.
and I'm putting my main work right now kind of on the back burner. I'm going to step away from it, to see if I'm going to try to do my first YA fantasy short story novella, something.
Do like a little noir murder mystery.
It's interesting. So far.
I can't wait to read it.
I'm looking
Well,
forward to it.
If I get it done by Christmas, it'll be out 2 Christmases from then. Any case, so yeah, that's actually been my week, is trying to wrestle with that kind of mindset of I'm stepping away from this all-consuming project of mine to do some goofy goofy YA literature.
I
dig
like
it.
it. And what about you, Eric?
Eric already did. He did.
We already did. It's
Yeah.
okay,
Oh.
Clark. We'll get you
I'm on
through tonight.
so much
Okay.
cold medication.
I was like, to be fair, Eric and I are both like older white bearded male army
you're
vets,
both in
so there's a
hats.
lot. Yeah,
It's
there's
very
a lot of similarities.
confusing.
Especially when you're just loaded up on NyQuil.
Yeah,
It's Robitussin, goddamn.
My bad.
we're all just blurry shapes on her monitor. She's been at like 240p this whole time. Just
Yeah, big week for me. My wife gave birth, so we now have little baby here at the house. He is doing well. He has fantastic pipes because he likes to use them at like 2 a.m. And other like typical newborn baby stuff. But yeah, so it's been kind of a wild ride. Last week was definitely probably the craziest week I think I've ever had on record. And I'm going to go through the full breakdown for you viewers because you guys will really like this. On Saturday, we got a call from our neighbor saying we needed to hurry home because the cops were chasing people through the backyards around the cul-de-sac. That's a little alarming. So we rush home from what we were doing. Cops are chasing people through our neighborhood, and I'm like, wow, you don't see that in the little cul-de-sac very often. What a weird one-off to happen right when my in-laws are here for a visit. Sunday, fairly chill, like not a whole lot of big things happening. Monday was fine. Tuesday, which was Halloween, I wake up, clearing a little ice off my windshield, look over, the neighbor's house is on fucking fire. Had to go get them out of their house because their smoke detectors apparently weren't going off. So I had to run over and beat on their door to get them out. And then the fire department blocked me in, so I couldn't get to work on time. My boss was pretty understanding. I was like, hey, neighbor's house is on fire. Fire hydrant is on my property. and I'm not about to tell the fire department to get out of my way.
Get off my
Like,
lawn, goddamn
Yeah,
it.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, stop trying to save this house. I have to go to work.
Get your shit and get out.
No, my boss was like super chill about it. Halloween went off without a hitch. A bunch of kids got set up for a good dose of type 2 when they came by my house because we only had like 10 trick-or-treaters, so everybody got like 4 handfuls of candy.
That's how you do
And
it.
yeah, dude, like the word's gonna get out, and then people are gonna expect a lot more when they show up. Because like, yeah, this kid showed up, and I was like, "Hey, you want some candy?" He was like, "Yeah," and like I gave him a handful, and he started to walk off. I was like, "Oh, don't leave yet.
Come back.
You are the first trick or treater you have. You're getting at least 3 more handfuls. Like that bag is gonna be at least 3 pounds when you walk away from my house."
Way to be the gold medal.
And yeah,
Like,
and
how
then
much do you
that,
lift, kid?
yeah. Well, I hope your deadlift is strong because you can be lugging
Yeah.
this bad boy. I hope you've been doing farmer carries. And so yeah, then that evening, Elena was like, "I think I'm having contractions," and I was like, "Well, like let me know when it's time to go to the hospital." And then we ended up having the baby, and yeah, it's just been a really crazy, wild thing, and like that's the most exciting week in cul-de-sac history out here. So
Hey, you know what? Let me take the opportunity then to do it official and all live and stuff, and say from Crossing, congratulations, man! Big clappy sounds.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we should be giving most of the applause for my wife. She did literally all of the heavy lifting for 9 months. I mean, nice.
There you go.
Nice. Fantastic. I gotta love the
I
studio
got
audience.
buttons.
I forgot you have access to the buttons. I also forgot that we don't ever give me access to the buttons because I would not be responsible.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. Hey, because I would be doing that
Oh,
even when it wasn't a
no.
joke. Ryan would say something like super, super fucking serious, and like I would let
And
that
then
rip.
he died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I was taking that one real personal. That was
Yeah.
nice. So I know we have the hot takes for tonight, right? A whole episode on it. And so for those of you that are just now tuning in, tonight's episode is going to be hot takes in the nerdverse. We're adding some spice to the spaghetti, as it were, tonight. But I wanted to kind of preface with you guys a little bit before we get into it. So we haven't done any like real sharing. We didn't have a bunch of pre-show to prep each other for this. And so I wanted to ask you guys, like, how spicy are we going here? Because I have my list in front of me, and some of them are very basic, like I have no problem sharing them and that kind of stuff. But some of them get several chilies up on the menu. And so, are we starting with like the easy ones, or are we coming out the gate swinging tonight?
I'm gonna start with my mild one and then go with the definitely the hotter of the 2 takes for later that I have
Okay.
picked out. My first one's pretty conspiratorial.
I feel like mine just aren't that hot of takes, so I'm mostly here to argue and yell at you guys for your horrible opinions.
Well, don't
and
worry.
drink
I know
Robitussin.
I'm
drink.
coming in tonight with the full understanding that everybody's going to have some pretty intense and possibly controversial opinions.
Absolutely. I really do.
And so, Travis, Clark, I just want you guys to know I'm going to keep a very open mind, and I'm going to try to let myself be educated on some of the stuff tonight. Eric, not as much, but you know, I
Nobody
do.
listens to Eric anyway.
Nobody listens to Eric. You know, he's going to come out with just a bunch of stuff of like, I'm not toxic. I'm just, you know, really into the game.
So true, though.
As I've doxed and swatted like
Yeah.
other like
I
As
have
I-
never
as I'm
done
sending-
anything that extreme. I'm not good enough to find someone's address and everything else.
as I'm sending messages to 12-year-olds on PlayStation Network, calling them foul names and telling them to uninstall.
I definitely tell them to uninstall, but I feel like that's not that serious.
I will take that over some other stuff I've heard on, like, gaming.
Last episode, we did a full 15-minute segment about how when you have a gamer like Eric, buy sturdier equipment.
Yeah.
Because he can't stop breaking his shit.
I don't break it anymore, but yeah, when you have money, you break stuff. It's good for you.
Okay, so
honestly,
we're
even as
starting
this
kind of
like is-
mild tonight. All right.
even at
I'm
my
gonna-
worst, I never broke a single controller in rage or anger. I did
Yeah.
accidentally ruin the headphone jack on one because I stood up to leave my desk, and I was so mad I forgot I had my headset on.
I've done that mostly just on accident.
Also, blonde moments also count, so that's fair.
Yeah.
It's still broken equipment.
It is
Saying.
still broken equipment. It is. It's
Eric
true.
kind of defensive
Broken
over here
things are
tonight.
still
It's a
broken.
good sign.
Broken
Good sign.
things are still broken. Do you guys mind if I lead us off? Because mine is
Oh,
going to
hey,
take some.
this episode's your fault, man. Take us away.
Oh, God. Vince McMahon is the best evil business genius that has ever existed.
Oh, crap. All right.
So, recent report from TKO Holdings, specifically the SEC filings, is labeling Vince McMahon as a potential risk to the goodwill and public opinion and public trust of the company. This doesn't mean he's going to be ousted. It just basically flags it like, hey, we see this, and if something sketchy or terrible or whatever really comes up, we'll cut him loose, kind of thing. Which
What
is
are we
essentially what
calling,
happened
like,
with him
evil?
like he's forcibly taken over other wrestling promotions specifically to put them out of business, so the only place you could watch professional wrestling was WWE.
Oh,
Like,
then I'm
he's
gonna
just
have to
really
say
aggressive. He's been terrible to like certain talents. He's definitely played favorites with people that worked at the company. He also had all the whole sexual misconduct thing that he used hush money and stuff for, which is what all this is connected to. He's kind of a bad dude.
yeah, but I feel like in terms of like evil business people, like Jeff Bezos has got to be up there. Elon Musk for just worker exploitation, and then my favorite who I want to run for president is Jamie Dimon, because he will do shady shit and then tell me about it. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And he's like, I put these 10 people out of business. It cost me X million of dollars in fines, but I made $3 billion. Thanks, shareholders. And then just like toodle off. I love that man. He is so
All right.
brilliant.
So Vince intentionally does not sign professional wrestlers as employees. They're contractors, which means that he doesn't have to pay them insurance.
Mhm.
You are going to end up with some serious injuries as a professional wrestler, and you will not have insurance from your company that you are wrestling for. But all of that is beyond the point. So he's been labeled as a potential risk to shareholder goodwill and all that fun stuff. So, with all of the sexual misconduct things that are floating around, accusations, allegations, some of it proven already, it was found that he was using WWE funds to pay hush money and all kinds of other crazy stuff like that. He was ousted as CEO, came back as chairman of the board, basically because he had the majority of the shares for it, liquidated a lot of things in the company, sold it, merged with the UFC, became TKO. I think he sold it to Endeavor. Endeavor merged UFC and WWE. They became TKO. Secured himself a position on the board there, and then liquidated a whole bunch of other things like stock options and shares into like raw cash, even when they were kind of down. And he did all of this because he knows he may pay some very serious court fines and fees, and now that he is no longer the owner of a company, they can't force him to liquidate his company to cover the charges. His charges are basically going to amount to what assets he has on hand. So he's literally just bailing. Actually, he's intentionally flooding his ship, so to speak, to make himself way less valuable. That way, when all of these fines and court settlements and things really start to hit, they can't target as much, and it can't damage WWE. So that man went out of his way, knowing all of this was going to happen, to sell WWE as fast as possible in order to avoid the government being able to force him to liquidate, damaging the company.
I believe they call that just smart business.
I think he's a genius just because he got to
Minus
stay
the
on the
shitty
board.
person.
Well, and that's kind of my stake. And I know I'm one of the ones that sit here, and I'm not as into a lot of the wrestling stuff, right? Like, I can't tell you who's on the cards right now or who the ups and downs really are without having to Google it. But I do know that Vince McMahon has actually catered that image a lot, right? And that's the part where I'm going to agree with Travis, is that he spent years not just being an evil genius when it comes to that kind of stuff, the evil businessman genius, but he spent so long cultivating that image that
to
he
go
was
along with it.
to go with it, right? And
Yeah.
so nobody could really tell if it was just part of the storytelling or if it was his actual like MO or what was
Identity.
going on. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where he kind of hid in plain sight. And so given that, I got to give the guy some credit as far as
Yeah.
evil business guys go. He did a good
I
job.
think, and like again, this is where I get really conspiratorial in all of it. I think that he actually picked the replacement board members when he and Laurinaitis left, when Stephanie took over as co-CEO with Nick Khan. I think he probably had a hand in picking his replacements that pursued such heavy like fines and wrote that very strongly worded letter saying he shouldn't come back in any capacity because it was damaging to the shareholders. I think all of that was literally by design from start to finish.
It very well could have
I
been.
I think him removing Triple H also from the board of chairmans for WWE before the merger with TKO was also by design. That way he had a singular title in the company, and that was creative director. I will say, I think the only thing that didn't really go according to his plan was when the CEO of Endeavor was just like, yeah, you don't get to have any other creative decisions. That's all Triple H because he's the chairman for, he's the head of creative, and you're not. You're just a board member. You don't get to say anything on creative. I think that may be the only thing that kind of came back and bit him, but I feel like the entire sale was basically Vince looking at this going, if all of this just goes really bad, like if this goes to the worst possible scenario, I'm going to lose WWE. Stocks are going to plummet, and this company's going to tank. I'm going to have them out me. I'm going to come back, sell the company, and then if they out me again, it doesn't matter because WWE's been protected. And now I don't have as many like big assets hanging out in the world, specifically with a multi-billion-dollar company that they can then go after. So that's kind of my first, on the mild side of hot takes, is Vince is just an evil genius doing crazy business things.
All right,
I
so
just
let's have some
I'll-
fun with this here. We
I
got
will
Travis's first hot take. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Eric.
No, just the only thing I want to say is the best part was it's just he got to be on the board after all of that, had creative control initially. Well, creative control shared with Triple H, and it took Endeavor this long to realize how evil he was to oust him out of their own business. And Endeavor is a huge company with lots of moolah, and
I don't think
Vince convinced them. Like the dude is a super genius. I'll give you, but we should move on. But he's super genius. I do agree.
I mean, the pacing of it to me just fits that this is even on Endeavor's part knew that this was going to be the plan all along.
It's going to get interesting because they do have to do litigation, I think, to get him out of his spot. So it's going to be fun and exciting.
So.
Who's got the next take?
Well, before we move on, so we have the first hot take out. We're coming out pretty mild. If y'all were going to rate Travis's hot take on a 1 through 5 kind of chili scale, how spicy are we so far? We sitting at a 1?
I mean, yeah, 1. He
Pretty
just
mild.
told me that a rich person was corrupt.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, it's going to be a good topic for a later show, though, because
absolutely.
He's genius. Like, he's smart. He got other smart business people to ignore his life. Like, he's smart. So I give it like a 1, but yeah, it'll be good later.
All right, so
Ryan,
I'll take the next
first. Yeah.
I got a few. I'm probably gonna have to cut just because of recording time. So I'm gonna open up with one of my more mild ones. So bear in mind when I say this, I'm saying this as a 36-year-old male that has been a dork his entire life. I've nerded out my entire life, and I did everything from play video games to collect comic books to all of it. And I'm going to sit here and say that the MCU is better than the comic books in their storytelling and world building. I like the universe they've crafted better. I like the character backstories and personalities they've attached to them better. And they've used an existing good story to create what I'm going to call a fantastic cinematic empire that I actually enjoy more than the comic books.
I think it's easier to follow than the comic books. Like, I'll give you that. I like the comic books more just because, like, I have a breath. Like, there's zombie Thor. Like, I just like having a different version and take on some of my superheroes. But, like, from a mainstream perspective, I would almost agree with you that it's just easier to digest as a consumer.
Yeah, it's easier to digest. I'm kind of like Clark. I don't like the alternate like zombie things. I really don't like the what ifs comic ones that come out because yeah, well, I guess it really depends. There's some of them that are really good, but a lot of them are just like eh. But yeah, I kind of like having the more in-depth stories, specifically from characters I like. That way, I can just gloss over the people that I don't like. Because there's some movies in the MCU where I look at that character and I'm just like, yeah, you're cool. Like, can we go back to the people I like?
Yeah.
Like, can we
Well, and that's
gloss
that's
over
kind
this?
of where I fell in love with it, is because all of these movies have been super impactful, right? And you have the major characters that when you say Marvel, those images come to the forefront of everything because of the movies, right? You have Iron Man, you have
Squirrel
Captain
Girl.
America, Squirrel Girl, obviously.
Poppy.
And it brought a lot of interesting details and interesting takes to characters, and a lot of interesting character flaws that got put up to the front, where a lot of times characters don't make sense. They'll make snap decisions, and the fan base loves going back with hindsight and picking those things apart. And the whole memes come out of it. Especially with the explain a film plot badly style stuff, where it's single dad tries to solve world hunger with his rock collection.
I do
And
love
Yeah,
those.
some of those are amazing. I can't see.
I
It's
don't know
just a
what you're
bright white
trying to
screen.
show us,
So
Eric.
yeah, like
Yeah, it's
I'm
just
gonna
white.
figure this out.
use your
I
words.
don't have a whiteboard. I'm gonna figure this out.
What are you trying
your
to show
words.
us?
Dude, comics are just better than movies. Like, I like the movies; they're cool. The actors MCU went with are good, but I gotta stick with the comics, man, because they're so in depth. There's so much. Like, I love the style, like the way they're drawn and things like that. Like, it's amazing. Um, the stories carry on for so much longer, so I don't have to wait 2 years for my story to continue. Now I
Waiting's part of the
will.
joy.
No, not anymore in
Builds
life. Like, we don't do
anticipation.
that anymore. Like, my kids saw commercials the other day and didn't know what they were. We don't do that anymore in the world. We need instant gratification. Fuck that. So,
What to do with a
on
commercial?
on another note, well, because you used to have to watch commercials in between, like waiting for whatever's going to happen in your show when you were a kid. Saturday morning cartoons. Leonardo's kicking the shit out of the Foot Clan, and you want to see if he gets them all. It always cuts to a commercial and leaves you like hanging. You're like trying to run to the bathroom and pee and get your orange juice and get back. But
I don't
anyways,
keep my orange juice in the bathroom. That's usually, I guess,
No?
it usually takes me longer because I had to stop over at the kitchen.
well, that's
Whatever
what I
See,
mean. You
you
got
have
to
to
run and pee and get your orange juice
Honest-
on the way back. You
gotta
got to like
jump
do a
over
lap.
the back of the couch.
Honestly,
Yeah.
whatever you did, Eric, I just hope you washed your hands.
well, see, that's actually the interesting take, Eric,
Maybe.
is because in my opinion, especially when it comes to the comic books, in general, if we're gonna just use a standard ambiguous example, let's say Spider-Man, right? I'm an avid Spider-Man reader. I'm not in real life, but for the purpose of the example, I'm an avid Spider-Man
Lying
reader
on national
and
podcast.
on national podcast. Yeah, call me out. Share this with your friends. I want to
There's
get
no
some
lying in a
hate mail.
podcast.
But you're
No
talking
hypotheticals in the podcast.
a standard comic run, even through the 90s and some of the early 2000s, where we actually saw comic books get longer. You're going to get what is equivalent to 5 to 10 minutes of screen time. And because of the medium, it's not like a novel. It's not like you're getting an epic amount of information from. There you go. That one worked. An epic amount of information from the comic book panels, like a lot more internal monologue or anything like that, because your imagination is not taking over. You have the artist's interpretation right there. And then you get to wait for, at best, a month, or at worst, 4 months for some of these runs where they come out with 4 a year. And so, in order to get the amount of content you're getting out of a standard Spider-Man movie, you're still waiting, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 7 years. And I think the movies do better.
The only point I will give into the movies as opposed to comics is that I get to the ending like it wraps up to like a conclusion. The comics is I was like, I'll read a comic and I'll be super into it, and I'm like, why are you only like 20 pages long? Like this bothers me. I need more. Every time I read a
So
comment,
you
I'm just
guys
like,
are anime over manga.
So
I get frustrated when I read manga because I'll always end up reading a panel backwards and it'll like mess me up. So then I have to start the whole page over, and then I just get mad and go turn on the anime.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I haven't read much manga. The ones that I have read have been full on volumes, 300 or 400 pages.
You
Big,
mean
anyway, so I haven't really had the time to compare. I don't know what a standard kind of manga style thing is, so I can't speak to that. I know that in the comic books you do get about 10 minutes of screen time, heavy air quotes there. In a standard issue, you get 15 pages, and there are exceptions to this where you can get the oversized stuff, or as I started doing by the time I was around 15, just started buying the omnibuses and the collections, which come out once every, I don't know,
Like
5
once a
years or
year.
so.
Yeah.
And so
I definitely prefer the omnibuses. If I'm going to do comics, I can't just do an issue at a time. Like I know people that do, and like that's part of the joy is their month. It's it's comic book day, which is dope. I remember those days of joy. It's just one of the things where I'm like, I'll just wait for the Omni to come out.
Yeah, well, and that's, if I'm interested in the story, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I still buy comic books every once in a while because I think the cover art is cool, or because I want to get a full collection going. But I'm going to say at least half of the people that are buying comic books nowadays aren't buying it to read the story. They're buying it for the collector's value. And the people that are reading the story are buying omnis. So,
or they're just reading it online.
yeah, exactly.
Or reading it. Yeah, that's the way my buddy Bryce does it. He consumes digital media. So
They have like Marvel online. You can get all the comics.
All right, let's
which
rate
will
his
be
hot
my
take.
hot take. I don't really like reading them online. I much prefer the physical versions.
I don't feel like that's that hot of a take. I prefer a physical copy of something if I'm going to read it as opposed to a digital.
All right.
So one of our viewers wants your cat, just so you know.
Clark. Oh, Jenkins?
Yes, just mentioned
He's
on
a cutie.
Facebook.
He's at least not screaming right now. My God.
Letting his opinion be known.
Yeah, right. He's very
so how
opinionated.
Spicy, guys?
I'm going to give that one a 2. It's a 2.
That one's a little bit more.
I feel like that at least has more controversy to it. I will give you a 2.5 because I'm sure another nerd will argue more with you about it.
Vegeta's not a hero, so that doesn't apply.
It's my hot take, guy. Vegeta is the better hero.
So it's not even a hot take. It's not even a
hot take is that he's a hero.
Vegeta is a hero. Vegeta is a hero.
We'll let Eric jump in with this. Okay, so hot take number 3, Vegeta is the better hero. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Dragon Ball Z or anything like that.
Dragon Ball Super, too.
Sure. You know how old I was before I realized there was a difference between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z? So Vegeta. Let's get a very, very brief gloss here. I know we have Goku, who was
the supposed hero. Yeah, I remember that guy.
So your hero in this show is the giant planet-destroying ape that hit his head too hard and forgot to be evil.
Yeah. Yeah. That constantly lets everybody die so he can fight an evil villain at full power. Just throwing that out there.
But he brings him back to life, so
to be fair, knowing you have access to a mystical device that can bring people back to life kind of negates the
value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's just died. Like, it's fine. We'll wish him back. Like, Yamcha's been back like 30 times. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
He has horrible PTSD. They even put it into the show. The guy doesn't even want to fight anymore by like halfway through Dragon Ball Z. He's like, I'm not fighting, man. I'm going to die again.
It's because he got outstripped by like literally everybody. Like, that's a dude. Like, that's a homie that just likes to throw punches sitting next to gods. Like, actually, if you want to talk about somebody who's the actual hero of Dragon Ball, like, and Z and Kai and Super, it's Krillin.
Yeah, I was about to bring Krillin.
Krillin is a normal ass dude that goes out there and just hangs with these guys. That man's a hero. He's also married to Android 18, and she's super hot.
Vegeta
All right, so
several different times. Vegeta, if everyone would have just listened to Vegeta, the world would have been saved much sooner. Goku always wants to push it to some weird nth level. Like if you look at did you watch not the last movie that was made, but the one before that when Frieza comes back? So at the end of it, Goku literally drags the fight out so long Frieza's able to blow up the entire Earth. The only reason he doesn't is because Vegeta kills him. Like they redo it, reset time and everything, and Vegeta just kills him. He's like, if you would have just killed him, none of that shit would have happened.
Maybe he couldn't just kill him. You ever think of that?
No, he had to drag the fight out so
Being
Frieza
right
could power
doesn't
up.
make you a hero. It just makes you correct. Like, again,
Alright,
him
so
being
I
like, if
actually-
you just killed people faster, it wouldn't be a problem. Doesn't sound really
The
heroic.
villain! Kill the villain!
Well, and that's actually my point of confusion here. I need to jump in. So
Yes.
I know that Vegeta started off as a villain, right? Like he was from
Yeah.
some other planet. He came here to
Vegeta.
hunt
Planet
Goku.
Vegeta.
He came from planet Vegeta. This guy
Yeah,
needs
I'm
a
pretty
new
sure
name.
that's the name of their home planet.
I didn't
I'm
He's
know that.
doubting
Vegeta
myself
from
now.
Vegeta.
I am the grand
Yeah.
hero, Earth. And
Yeah.
anyway, so Vegeta shows
I'm
up and
Dirt Man.
he was part of a hit squad to take out Goku,
Planet
right?
Vegeta.
Like he
Yeah.
was like an assassin.
Yeah, him
So
and Raditz.
I know that.
Or whatever his name actually was. It
No,
was
Planet
Raditz.
Vegeta.
All right.
Raditz was before him. Vegeta comes with someone else. But continue on. Go ahead, Ryan.
So again, my understanding was that he showed up as a bad guy. There was big fighty scenes, but ultimately he does turn into a hero. Doesn't he? Like get married, settle down, and help protect Earth.
Yeah, he takes what's his name's girl in a sense, Bulma, and
he
marries
killed
her.
Yamcha and then stole his girlfriend.
Yeah,
So maybe
you
not.
guys think I'm toxic?
Maybe
Guys and
not the
gals.
hero we want, but the hero we deserve, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it's a hero we deserve. He doesn't do anything. Like, he straight up, hits his kid in the middle of, training and then screams at him for crying
Goku
after,
gives
straight up just acing his kid with a punch.
Goku gives Cell a bean to fully heal himself to see if his kid could beat him up.
He knew his kid could win. He had faith in his child. And his
Vegeta's the real
abilities,
hero.
mostly because Piccolo did most of the training.
Yes, again.
Piccolo's the real G of that story. Because he'll just take anybody's kid, apparently. You could just drop him off with Piccolo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mrs. Doubtfire. But yeah, so I'm telling. At the end of the day, Vegeta's the real hero. Even when
So-
what's his name?
Let me get this straight.
Yes.
As far as your hot take goes, now you're talking just compared to Goku, who I think we've all already acknowledged is kind of a dumbass, right?
A
he's
villain,
terrible. He's a
actually.
fucking idiot.
But go ahead.
He's not a villain. He's just
He's a
stupid.
villain.
Because you dumb doesn't mean you bad.
No, he's bad because he lets everybody die all the time.
Because he's dumb.
Yeah, he's dumb.
So here's the thing. From what I've heard so far, I
He's a
haven't heard
himbo.
anything on why Vegeta is such a grand hero, other than he killed a guy faster than the other guy would.
A tournament of power, he dies and gives his energy to Goku, and he's the one that inspires
So
Goku
the
to
hero.
But again,
Ultra
so-
Instinct, and he inspires Goku to become like a master of Ultra Instinct. He also teaches another Saiyan how to become Super Saiyan
and they
to
were an
improve his
opponent.
chances in the tournament.
They were an opponent in the tournament that he manipulated into taking out other people in exchange for him teaching them how to go Super Saiyan. You're telling me that person is a hero? He literally helped people get more powerful. He's doing the exact same thing that you're mad at Goku for doing.
Here's the
It's
best
the
part.
exact same.
But he
his
does it so you
go-to
don't know
defense-
that.
His go-to defense.
Oh, so just
when
if
I
I
asked
do
him to
evil things
explain.
without you knowing it
Yeah.
is fine?
So your go-to defense, Eric, was that he's the hero because Goku's an idiot, and your immediate defense and why is he dies and give all of his power to Goku, the idiot you don't want in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes him intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old Vegeta, dude, had the greatest character development in that entire series. Like,
Oh, he totally
just,
had.
like,
he's the
sing.
ace character, and I just want him to be the better hero. Especially
He's-
when Beerus punches Bulma, and then instead of, like, because the whole time, Vegeta's like, we can't fight him. He's going to destroy the Earth. If you get him mad, he's going to blow everything up. And then he hits Bulma. Vegeta goes Super Saiyan and beats the shit out of him. Well, for a little bit.
Yeah,
Real hero right there.
for about 20 seconds. That's not a hero. Like, he's just
Hero.
defending
Alright,
his
so-
wife. That doesn't make you like a hero. It makes you a decent person.
I
Hero.
have a couple of things I'm going to throw in here.
God, your standards
first
are
off-
super low.
We
Yeah.
need to do a whole episode on heroes versus villains. I can't believe we haven't done that
Again.
yet, but we'll do a whole episode on heroes versus villains. But this is kind of my hot take and why I couldn't get into Dragon Ball Z. It's the same reason I can't get into One Punch Man or a lot of these style stories is because I can't stand it when the entirety of the narrative development is big guy fights other big guy. That's why I didn't read Superman when I was growing up or any of this jazz. And so to hear with such gusto, Eric, such
Vigor?
emphasis, such vigor that you're like Vegeta's the better hero because he's so much better than Goku, hero A over here. And I'm like, why? And you're like, because he made Goku so much stronger.
But he does what we wish heroes would do more often, too. He kills the bad guy.
Manipulate people?
I'm on
Like,
Alice's.
he does what everyone says, like, Batman should kill Joker.
I'm on Alice's
Vegeta
side right
would.
here. I can't believe that you don't like One Punch Man. There's
I
literally like
can't
a two
stand
episode
One Punch
arc
Man.
where he's trying to go grocery shopping but can't because monsters keep
You
attacking. Like,
you
it's
have to watch it as a meme.
so awful.
Like, if you
yeah.
watch it as a true anime, it's horrible. But, like, if you watch it as a meme, it's hilarious.
He enters a karate tournament and one of the rules is no hats and he has a wig on, so he spends the entire karate tournament holding on his wig.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
And it's pretty funny. Like, if you take it, like, don't try to take it serious because it's not a serious show. Like, it's a stupid show.
You
Alright,
know
so-
that it's dumb.
Any case,
Yeah.
whether we agree with them or not, we have Eric's serving is up with Vegeta is the better hero of Dragon Ball Z, rated spicy.
because reasons. 0, not a hero. Doesn't count.
He's a
You don't have to
Doesn't
agree. Just rate the spice. Rate the spice. It doesn't have to have good flavor.
I don't know because I don't know enough about Dragon Ball Z to tell you if that okay. 3, my lord, 3. Like, I don't.
You're
I don't
holding
know.
up, too.
I know
Here's-
it's a Shrek
That's the
joke. God
from
damn
Shrek.
it!
I'm with you.
Oh.
I'm with you, Clark. I got you, dog.
Sorry.
I got you.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
actually, I was thinking 2 for a little bit, but I'm going to go with 1, and I'm going to go give you a 1 spice for a reason here, and that's because when it comes to the
40
DBZ
spice?
fanhood, you picked a safe option. Everybody likes Vegeta. There's more Vegeta art than there is Goku art,
Really need you guys
and
to
so
stop saying
I'm giving that one
Vegeta.
a 1.
Vegeta is, like, you would actually, like, he
actually
saves
pronounced-
DBZ.
It's actually pronounced Vegeta.
Because
Vegeta.
his character is the most in-depth character, dude. If you
Yeah, I
want,
might
like,
give it a shot, but
just watch Vegeta's stuff. Like, his arc
Alright,
and his
Clark.
development is amazing.
all right,
All right,
Clark, hit
hit
us.
Demon Slayer is not a good manga.
I can't
It
even weigh in.
is bottom tier.
I've watched the
so-
anime. Does it stick close? Like,
So the anime, it's just not a good story. Like, the characters aren't fully developed. They're like quirky, but not as developed as you would like, and the ending is just trash.
is
the
this
ending
coming
was like-
from the girl that was just
Haven't
talking
got to
about
the
vending
ending.
machines and god farmers?
Yeah, so I will watch garbage, but I will not defend garbage. Like, this is kind of like, okay, I watch Love Island. I watch, Parallel Universe Pharmacy. That's kind of like where I put those. They're entertaining. Am I going to tell you, oh my gosh, it's like peak manga and anime? No. But, like, I was so disappointed in Demon Slayer, and the anime is 100% carried by, like, the fight scene animation, in my opinion. Like, to me, it is, and I own all of them, so I have spent money, and I have watched it, and I have read it, but, like, it gets to about halfway through and just tanks off the edge. Like, he just had no idea how to end it. It No. I will, if somebody tells me that's their favorite anime or manga, I will ask them if they've ever seen anything else.
Well, it's my favorite.
Have you ever seen anything else?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, like
Then
lots.
bad opinion.
Yeah.
I do.
But you
I
are
do love
you
the
are
fight
right.
scenes from it. I think you have me considering it now, and I'm like, what character development have we seen outside of Tanjiro's like motivation to be a
And you
demon
just see,
slayer,
like,
which I get.
tiny demon slayers, like tiny demon sob stories, but like the characters don't ever really develop. There's very little like inner fights. Awesome. There's like a training arc kind of, and even then you're
Sort
just
of.
like, okay.
So it ends
It
up
was
being
like
kind of
blowing
Mary
into the gourd
Sue-ish.
and like
It's just like it's over.
There's no
Interesting.
anime with better fights than that. I'll give you the story
there
isn't
are.
that great, but like the fight scenes, like
No, there are.
no way, dude.
There are
there's
better
definitely-
anime.
I haven't
Try
seen that
Eminence
yet.
and
Demon Slayer are very
Shadow.
good. Eminence and Shadow, yeah.
It's pretty good.
So-
I'm trying to think of other like big bursty ones.
Man, Clark may be swaying my opinion on Demon Slayer now that I really start thinking about it beyond just
Yeah.
the fighting.
You know what it reminds
Because
me
the
of,
premise
honestly.
of
If I
carried
can,
by the
in the
animation.
premise, yeah, the fight animations, like the breathing
mean.
technique things
Mhm.
are that's super dope. Like it's such a cool premise because you get so many of the like very stereotypical like anime sword people that are like and and then somebody just like splits in half. Which I love. It's one of my favorite anime tropes of all time, which is why I love watching Brook in One Piece fight because he always does that. He was like,
yeah.
10,000 cut slice, and it's just him putting it back into the cane,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden people just fall, But yeah, like I'm
Yep,
trying to think of when I
Yeah,
saw
she's not
Inosuke do
really
anything
wrong.
besides snort and scream and hit things, and I'm like, you don't.
I mean, like it's entertaining, but it's
It is
just
entertaining.
not. It's not that great. Like the amount of people that I see cosplay like Demon Slayer does not equate to the quality that Demon Slayer is in the anime and manga universe, in my
So
opinion.
Allison did bring up the fact that My Hero Academia's got good fight scenes.
They
They do have a few,
Mhm.
but
They've
the
got some
way
really
that
good ones.
Demon
like,
Slayer's
depending on
drawn.
which character.
So let me
That's
let
what I'm
me
saying. It's carried by its animation.
No,
and
it
that's
is. My only thing is the ending is bad. Like you are correct with that. Like, and it sucks. I
Don't-
should have
don't say
never
anything
read
about the
ahead.
ending. I don't
I'm
care
not gonna.
about
I'm
the
not saying
ending.
anything. No.
Yeah.
But I will agree with you 100%. That's to me. That's the only thing that stinks is the ending is so bad. I think that's why I don't enjoy the story as much anymore, and I'm just watching it to see the fights.
Yeah.
Is because the ending is the way it is, and who
just
knows
a
why he did
mid-story.
it that way. But see, I don't know. I thought it was really good until I found out the ending, and then I'm like, well, fuck this. I mean, but
Well,
Yeah,
and
I
so
think-
here's the thing. I think that we can still enjoy it for what it is, right? I
Mhm.
think Clark is right. I like a lot of the characters in the show, but you don't see a lot of development from them, right? They don't really change. And it can get carried by great animation and that kind of stuff. And some other animes actually get the opposite treatment. They have poor animation and poor acting, but get carried by an amazing story. Maybe the opposite is true for Demon Slayer. The story's just not that great, but it gets
Yeah,
carried by
I'm-
great animation and great
Yeah,
acting.
I'm thinking back on it. I'm like,
Sorry for ruining it. And like
Story-
even the
story's
manga
okay.
animation is not great.
Well, and
no,
allow me
manga
to draw.
isn't. No, I saw
Let me
Yeah.
pictures.
let me draw a parallel here because this holds true in a couple of different situations. From what you're saying about Demon Slayer, especially in the manga, because I've only ever seen the first season of the anime, so that's what I'm working with here.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the same way we get John Wick. Now, John Wick is a unique mix to me because ultimately, John Wick as a franchise is the simplest possible story that you can tell in the most complex setting that you never fully describe. Right? Because that's really it. You have John Wick, who's badass assassin guy who belongs to a guild, and he's upset at people for doing bad things.
no, he's
Okay,
upset because
that
they killed
is-
his dog, and that's a reasonable
And
response.
his wife.
His wife died of
And so-
cancer.
Yeah. So that's
That she
your basic
allegedly got
character.
naturally.
Yeah, that's your character motivation. It is one of the most basic, persistent motivations you can give a character,
Revenge.
and he doesn't get character development over the course of the movies. He continues being exactly who he is and doing what he does. Yes, it progressively gets harder, and his environment gets interesting and changes, and what he has to deal with changes, but him as a character, there's no development. And they get 4 movies out of the fact that it's brilliant castings, great acting, it's a wonderful setting, and the action scenes are phenomenal. But the storyline is mid
Yeah, that
at best.
fight
It's bland.
choreography is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fight
it's pretty
choreography is amazing.
stereotypical. Like, it's pretty stereotypical, like, revenge trope.
And so ultimately, it kind of sounds like the same thing from what you're saying with Demon Slayer.
Better ending for
Yeah.
John Wick, apparently.
Yes.
So I haven't got to see the 4th one yet. So
See, the
so
thing with
behind the
Demon
times,
Slayer
man.
is the potential is there to have a much better story. I think that's part of it. Like, all their characters are super
yeah, that's
deep,
true.
and you don't really get to find out their entire stories. Like, you just get like small tidbits.
Yeah, like
Uh,
I said, I think he just started it and then was like, I don't want to write this anymore, and then and that's how it felt.
All right,
Well,
so
you talk about
whether we agree or not,
the curse of anime, where it's like,
yeah,
I didn't think this was gonna get picked up for
Yeah,
a
you're
second
just like, oh
season.
shit.
whether we agree or not, how spicy is Clark's Order? I'm
Give
going
that a
3.
3. Yeah, I gotta give that a solid 3. Just
3 from
because
Eric
that
as
is
well.
a really well loved
Yeah, it takes some guts to put out
IP.
Demon
Yeah.
Slayer's no good. Like,
So I'm gonna hop into my second one, and we're gonna do it real fast. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it right before Clark is set to go to bed. That way her heart rate's higher, and this is for her health. And it's Porgus D. Ace is a fool and died needlessly because somebody said a mean about his favorite person on the planet, who was Captain Whitebeard. And since somebody said a mean thing, he had to make the entire sacrifice of the Whitebeard
Spoiler
crew.
alert, by the way.
By the way. That has been out for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
but if
not
they're
up to that
watching
point.
if they're watching the live action, and they haven't gotten there
Okay,
yet.
yeah, sorry, spoiler alert. So yeah, Ace
Thanks.
died
After the fact.
and he
okay,
died
so
like a
let's do it like
bitch.
this. For everybody that's listening, you've already been minorly spoiled. If you don't want any further spoilers for potential storylines in the live action One Piece show on Netflix, skip ahead 9 minutes.
And then rewind it back until we're not talking about it. But yeah,
Yeah.
Porkus, he died like a bitch. He's an idiot. Like, he's just a complete fool. He had one responsibility and shirked it because somebody goes, your dad's a nerd. And he turned around and fought somebody he knew he couldn't beat. You just got handed a big L by Blackbeard. And then you want to turn around and fight a Marineford Navy admiral because he said the mean? Like, get out. Like, how stupid are you? Like, everyone talks about how dumb Luffy is, but Luffy was just like, we gotta go. And then his internal monologue that entire fight was like, these people are really powerful, and I'm gonna have to find a way to step my game up. Like, and then you get to Porgus the Ace, and you say, "Bleh." And now I'm gonna die like a fool.
I think for him, if like you watch his, I don't know if you've gotten to his backstory monologue yet, but like
I have.
I'm gonna say he is arguably one of the most loved characters in One Piece. So I'm gonna,
And I don't.
Yeah, that's gonna be the spicy part of this, is like coming out and saying you hate Ace. But like, I think for him, he was always that person who was destined to die. The person who everyone
100%.
said was it. And like Oda's even come out like he had to die for Luffy to go on and have motivation to have his training arc. Like that had to happen. The person you should be pissed at is Law. Law shows up 10 minutes late with the power to just fucking fix everything, and he goes, "Hey," and then just like yeets. Same with Shanks. Like those are who you should direct your anger at, because they could have solved a lot.
Shanks,
but it
Shanks
was kind
was
of
late
like
because he was fighting another pirate crew.
Just real quick, so everybody knows, I was doing the One Piece Who I Look Like, and it says Shanks. Just throwing that out there. All right, continue on.
poor
I
Shanks.
have no add
Poor
to this
Shanks,
story because
yeah.
I haven't watched this far into
But no,
One Piece.
Didn't you put blasphemy on his name?
He was given a direct order by his captain to flee, and if he had just followed that,
I think
like,
it was one of those.
hundreds of other pirates would still be alive because
Yeah, but you had to kill the old guard. Like that's what it was.
I-
This is the new era. It was a plot ploy.
Whitebeard was dying anyway. Like, even
Yeah.
by the time they freed Ace, there was no way Whitebeard was getting out of there alive.
I do think it wasn't a good way to have Ace go out. Like, I will give you that. I think
That
there
was a
were
stupid
other
way to die. Yeah,
opportunities, or like having him truly defend Luffy would have been better. But yeah, like the fact that you
like
say you don't like him is the big issue, because like
because he's a fool. Like,
they're all
But
idiots.
so many animes have a main character
It-
like that though that
and
dies
part of
like
it
in a
boils
dumb
down
way.
to the it just cheapens the sacrifice of all of those people that were working so hard to free him. It made all of that. He's basically
Yeah.
spat in the
Yeah,
face
that's
of
where I was, too.
everybody on that crew, which is why I hate him. He turned around and said, "My pride is more important than your sacrifice." And coming from, like, again, the position of a veteran, I was like, you were given a direct order to flee. These people came here to rescue you. When you are being rescued, you do what the rescuers tell you, regardless of whether or not you think you can turn around and make a
Do you
difference in
think
that
if
fight.
he made it to the ship that like a ton of other like that Magma Man wouldn't have just gone on a tiny rampage anyways?
He was totally going to go on a rampage anyway, but he did that
Like,
against Law, and it still didn't do anything. Like, they had people there fighting to make those to prevent them from interfering to that level, because they shut down the dude that
Law
transformed
shows
into
up
light.
after.
I always forget his name. Even so, Whitebeard was still up and fighting
Yeah, but I'm
when
just
that
saying,
order was
if
given.
if
Which
Ace had made it back to the ship, do you think a ton more people's lives would have been spared, because then he wasn't fighting Magma Dude?
maybe, maybe not, but it didn't literally break the will of everyone fighting there. Like, he literally single-handedly went out and was like, I'm going to shit on everyone's morale, everyone's sacrifice, and everyone's hard work. Because he was
But
a
then he
poopy baby
motivated
boy.
his brother.
Because he died. You
Yeah.
could have his death be, like, way meaningful. Honestly, I thought he was going to die when he was fighting Teach. And I thought that would have been way more impactful.
People had to see it. It couldn't
Which
be
I thought they
unmonumental.
would,
But it was like,
yeah, like, I would have rewound to it, like, with the fight with Teach or whatever, but I would have had Teach do it, because, I mean, he's obviously the big antagonist for that show anyway.
yeah, depending on what arc you're in.
Yeah,
but
him
my
dying
other
in
comment
Marineford.
is like, those people were going, like, they were going to die anyways. They weren't fit for the new world, if that kind of makes sense. Like, they weren't fit
I
for
get
the
it.
new pirate era that had to come, because like Luffy and, oh my god, the Reckless, I can't remember what they're called now. No, the worst era ever or something like that. Like, all of those
Worst
guys
generation.
are
Yeah,
pretty goated, and it's just kind of like, if you can't stand here, you don't get to stand at all as a pirate. So I think it was his pride. Yes, I don't. I I can see you saying his pride, he felt it more important, but like, that's Luffy has started fights over similar things. Like, it's your pride as a
but it's not.
pirate.
It's not. But it wasn't his pride as a pirate. Somebody said the mean. Somebody said a
Yeah,
mean
he said
word, and
something
he
mean to his dad,
mean.
who's the only person who loved him
And,
outside
like,
of Luffy and Sabado. And, you don't get to talk shit about my
I
dad. He
am
has a
Ace.
dad complex. What do you
Ace.
want from him?
Ace
He
is a
didn't
piece of
become a
shit.
stripper. I'm telling Jenkins. He's never gonna let you pet him again. Look at that fuzzy
All
butt.
right, so whether we agree or not, we have Ace is a piece of shit up for Spice.
I'm gonna say 1 just because he's wrong as fuck.
So I'm gonna give that one a 3
Probably
as well
4.
because
Eh.
it's a well loved character. I think Travis has some good points, and I can definitely see where he's coming from, especially from a veteran's standpoint. I agree with a lot of Clark's assessments, however, so I'm giving that one a 3.
I
Anime
think it's a
notoriously kills people like that, like weird deaths. Like Neji
it
from
would've
Naruto
been-
died in like such
it
a
would've been
I
stupid
think
way.
it's a 4 just because he's most likely to start a fight in an anime forum. Like, I
Fair
feel
enough,
like
yeah.
if he went and posted it on Reddit, that
And
would
then
get like
deleted
the
that
most
account.
downvotes.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna get a lot of
Yeah.
people heated. It's like I said, it's just one of those things. Like, I can't get behind him. He
All
could have.
right,
It would have been way cooler if he'd had like a one-on-one fight against an admiral because Luffy couldn't get out. I would have been.
Well, yeah,
I'd have
that's
been
what I
fine with
think.
that.
It could
I
have
would have been
been done
100% okay
better.
with that if he was just like, "Oh no, Luffy's about to go down. I need to intervene." But instead, he turned around because somebody said the mean.
But also Magma Dude, I don't remember his name. I just call him Magma Dude.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't understand how magma's hotter than fire.
Yeah. Magma even burns fire. And I'm like, that's not how that works, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's not how that works at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to show your math. Like,
So, like, it was very clearly like, this has to... What?
no.
I'm
But
Oh,
like,
we're switching
pensively-
topics. What are we doing?
Okay.
yeah,
I
go.
don't know. I'm
Who's
pensively
going
waiting
next?
for your sign
I got
now.
one. I got one.
Go,
Okay.
Ryan.
So
You'll have
before
to
I get
wait
into
longer.
this one, we are doing 90 minutes for tonight's episode, or we?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's just keep going.
Alright,
Yeah,
just
we'll-
go.
What's your
we'll
next
see when
one?
we get
Give
done.
us your spiciest one.
Yeah, give us the heat.
Okay. PC players shouldn't be allowed to crossplay. It does more harm than good.
I think I'm
So-
fine with that.
I
Here's
agree.
my stance. When it comes to PC gaming, and we discussed this a little bit, I believe it was last episode, PC players get access to a lot more tools and a lot more programs and settings in video games than console players do, who are relegated at the base level to a controller. All right. Now, many PC players will still continue to use a controller, and that's fine to a certain degree. But because PC players get access, and I'm going to use the Call of Duty story from last episode in this one. PC players in Call of Duty, I think it's World at War, get access to a host, over 30 additional settings, sliders, and adjustments to their characters and gameplay than console players do. And those settings can be manipulated, and you can know how to do it with a basic Google search in order to turn you into an absolute god mode in the game without even needing to do any of the other sketchy ass PC shit like buying cheating software.
I'm
And-
gonna say, I don't think that will turn you into god mode. I think, like, if you were good, it's going to make you hyper competitive. But, like, no matter what setting I have on, I'm gonna get headshot,
Yeah,
and
well,
I
and
don't care who's doing it.
It
Here's
boils
the big
down to
kicker
like
for
being
me.
able to see people mitigate recoil entirely because they adjusted their settings. And when I'm
Yeah,
sitting
Or-
here
I
on
could see it in
be
the
console,
able
competitive
to-
space.
But you can also do things like turn down your graphics quality so that like vegetation and stealth
Mhm.
mechanics go away.
Yeah,
know,
you have
and-
more settings to be able to control just naturally on your computer than I can go into and hack my PlayStation. Like,
Agreed. And I think when it comes to video gaming, more so than a lot of other competitive areas, they really are intended for everybody to start off on a level playing ground, level field. And being able to do things like, I'm going to buy a special mouse and a special keyboard because it cuts 3 seconds off of my whatever time, is effectively a pay-to-win strategy. And combining that with the settings can turn a mid or piece of shit player into a very competitive player. And they can feel very empowered and very boss mode. I'm so good because they're
think-
out there stomping on
being
Xbox.
a mid
And,
or piece of shit player, I can tell you, it's not guarantee god mode.
I don't
No,
think
it-
yeah, I'm
I
not
get
gonna go.
that,
I'm
but
not
it
gonna go
gives
to
you
that
a
extreme.
significant edge over
Not
even the
significant.
best.
Oh yes, it
No,
does. If
Oh,
you're-
yes,
if
it
you're-
does.
Yeah, if you're running something with like a massive, like say you're running an LMG, which is high damage, decent.
no, I know
range,
what you're saying. You're
massive
bringing up recoil.
and you can bring but your settings, those visual settings, eliminate recoil. So now I have a weapon with fantastic range and really high damage that's full auto that I can shoot halfway across the map with no recoil. Comparatively, a console
you already
player
have to be
doesn't
good.
have access. I mean, you don't have to be that good, especially if
No,
you're just
if
lining.
I'm-
If you're center massing,
If I'm
it,
shooting, yeah,
if you're
I'm
center
shooting
massing it
1,200
and I'm on
meters
a
with an
console,
LMG as a laser beam.
So
Like,
I'm
that's not
gonna promise you, like, if you play in competitive like matches and stuff like that, you can have all this.
but
Like,
he's not.
you're
He's
still.
not talking about a pro versus pro. He's talking about your general lobby. You get off
Yeah,
home off work.
I'm
You
talking
want to
about
play Call of
crossplay.
Duty. You're gonna get mashed by these dudes that have no recoil because you're always having to compensate for it.
And that's
get
why I
good.
don't think, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to take these games away from PC players. PC playing is a very viable way to play games, and I'm for it. I just don't think they should be cross-playing with console players.
I could see that in a competitive state
Yeah.
or like ranked, but like if I'm just dicking around with my friends, like
I can see
I don't care.
like in general play, it is definitely frustrating to come across those guys that can just laser beam you from across the map, but it's not all the time because on console you're gonna get paired up with console usually. for the
Well,
most part.
and don't
And
get me wrong,
in the competitive realm, everybody's going to be doing PC anyway, so everybody's going to be on the same playing field as far as those settings go. It's just really awful to be in a general lobby and just from across the map have somebody send 280 rounds and have no recoil, and you're trying to use like a vector SMG and you have to start aiming at their toes, so eventually you may get a headshot.
Well, and this actually comes from a long list of frustrations that I have. And it's not just with PC players, right? I get the same kind of frustrations from players that make Smurf accounts, where it's like, oh, I'm getting ranked with my peers at skier level, but I just want to do some stomping, so I'm going to create a whole new account so that I can go play with people that have never played before, and I get that dopamine hit of look how good I am stomping on these new players. It's poor sportsmanship, it's poor playership, and I wish there was some way that it wasn't allowed.
Why do I feel like Eric does this on the
See,
weekends?
but what I was gonna say is my next hot take was actually gonna be like competitive gaming isn't toxic.
Is
My-
it like? Are you saying
competitive
at
gaming
all?
is a sport, or like you in competitive gaming is not toxic? Because you get into competitive lobbies and some of those people are kind of shitty. Like,
Yeah,
They
I don't
can
know
be.
if
No,
you've-
absolutely. I don't think
I don't know if
I don't
you've-
think you're automatically. I think it's more toxic to play in general matches. Like I've heard a lot more like shit said when I play in a general match for things than I do with like ranked or like an actual like win-loss record. I find
most-
people to be a little bit more serious
Yeah,
usually.
So you're actually talking ranked versus casual.
Yeah, competitive. Like if I play a general map, I'm not playing to like I don't have to win those. Those are just for like I want to try a new setting, I want to try a new gun, I want to run a new thing, a new
I can see that.
player.
You're definitely gonna have people in the like open lobbies that are intentionally getting on just for the sole purpose of being shitty.
Yeah,
And
just
you're
to be
probably
trolls.
going to run into
I
that
agree.
more than you will on the competitive side because those people are just trying to like they're number crunching essentially with a mouse and keyboard, um, trying to get that KD ratio up or whatever the higher rank. So I can kind of see that. As far as like the lobbies go being less toxic, I still feel like the player base. I think in competitive
because
COD isn't nearly as bad as it is in some of the other competitive arenas because you get into like ranked League of Legends, and
League
that
of
is
Legends,
probably the nastiest place I've ever. Like, I felt dirty. I took a
Dota.
shower.
I definitely don't want to jump off of Ryan's thing though, but like in regards to like I don't think it makes like it does make a bit of a difference when you have all the stuff. Like it just does. If you're willing to spend the money, like if you get a really nice monitor, your screen will load the picture faster, half a second. That's why if someone kills you and you're like, I was behind the wall, like, well, their monitor is super fast and you weren't behind the wall yet. And that's why you died. But at the end of the day, like you can manipulate all the settings you want. If I know the maps better in Call of Duty, if I play more and things of that nature, like you could still pull it off. Like there's plenty. I play and you see the little computer thing to show crossplay, and a lot of times you see console players higher up on the KD than you will computer.
So I don't do a whole lot of PvP. I'm going to preface this, but I have found in the PvP that I do participate in, namely Crucible,
Destiny Crucible.
knowing the map and knowing how people are going to act do a lot more than anybody's settings or what gun you're carrying. Now, if you get into the point where you're trying to do those competitive matches, obviously you should chase the meta. There's a reason the meta is there, and if you're to that level of play, obviously that's going to be a difference maker. So I'm not saying don't ever chase the meta. You should definitely chase the meta if you're into that competitive like gameplay. If you're just looking for an additional leg up to go up another tier, chase the meta. I did it in Smite for a while. It works. But yeah, with like PvP, if you know what people are gonna do and you have like a really intimate knowledge of the map, it definitely is a huge difference maker.
And if you got teammates,
having better equipment definitely is a big difference maker, especially when it's like frame rate and stuff like that, because it plays a part.
It does.
And so here's my stance on it, because truth be told, I don't think toxicity really attaches to a competitive nature. I think what we just said, the more competitive the player is, generally you see a reduction in what I count as gaming toxicity. Being competitive doesn't have anything to do with being toxic. You have toxic casual players and toxic competitive players. But in this
And then you have
particular
toxic people
situation,
that don't even participate in like
in the
gaming
game.
at all, and they're just terrible people, and you'll run into them outside, which is why I try not to go there.
Yeah. But ultimately, what I'm talking about is not just your skill levels. Like, I'm under no delusion that playing on PC automatically you're going to have a 3.0 KD ratio and be in platinum ranked everything. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that, especially in Call of Duty, which is where this example comes from, they balance a lot of their gameplay, their weapon mechanics, using the weapons traits, right? You have damage, you have range, ammunition, recoil, and all of these different stats on a weapon. And on the PC, players can take the most powerful weapon that has the highest damage and the highest range and the highest ammunition count and get rid of its largest drawback. They can take away that recoil.
Yeah, you can.
And that
You can
turns that
mitigate
weapon.
the downside, which
You can mitigate the downside, and that can take a player that would be a 4 out of 10 player on a actual fair, even playing field, and
put
make
you
him an
between
8.
6 and a 7.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wouldn't go that high.
I would.
Agree.
I definitely rank him at like a 7, though. It definitely will make
You'd
a
be
big
you'd be
difference.
a couple
'cause-
clicks higher, but you wouldn't.
Yeah,
Again, it's equipment and knowledge of the game. Like,
See,
I
I
get
think
it.
knowledge of the game from a really
get-
good player, knowledge of the game can help, like can combat that. But what I'm talking about is that player with the knowledge of the game and the skill set who puts in the time and the effort to be good at the game is now even with the player that can just click the right buttons and see through walls and shoot infinitely.
But
And
the
so,
best part about that is when you do beat a PC player, you can shit on them in chat.
see,
I knew
that's
that
the
was
toxic
coming.
part.
I knew that was coming.
He was so close. He was doing
He almost
so
got
well.
through it.
But I don't mean in like I mean in like a
Hold-
positive
hold on,
way. Like
hold
let him know, like, hey, you cheater, I'm
Positive
still better
shitting
than
on
you.
someone.
Hold on.
You
Hold on.
can
Hold on.
absolutely do that.
Hold on.
Like
All right,
learn
all
the
right, hold on.
game,
All right, all right,
winner.
all right.
Whoa.
Like-
All
GG.
right. So we've had
Easy.
two. We've had two takes. We got Eric's second. We got Ryan's second. So we're gonna do our voting. Ryan, I'm gonna give your spicy take. I'm gonna give that one a 3, mostly because I'm on your side on that one. I don't like in games like Call of Duty. I don't like the crossplay just because that is such a weird mechanical advantage that you get. So I'm gonna go 3.
3.
I'm gonna say like 2. I have a feeling like a lot of people would agree with that,
Oh, not too
All
hot
right.
to take. Okay.
or they would lean on like having PC have mitigations of like what settings you can change.
Yeah, I think
It's just
that would
get
also
good.
be.
It's a skill issue. Get
It
good,
is.
nerd.
Yeah, nerd.
Get better money.
Nerd. Get wrecked.
Yeah, get good.
And then so we had.
I think
Eric's
it's like a
second
2
note,
though.
Toxicity.
Your
Is
computer
Competitive
thinks like,
toxicity.
but Ryan, your computer thing's like a 2 for sure because, and the only reason it's that low is just because I want extra players in the map usually, and it loads faster with more players. So I'll take those PC players all day. And like I
Eric
said,
just wants to
I
queue
can.
faster.
Yeah,
I
just
do,
queue
man.
faster.
Like I just want to keep like the only time it really matters is when you play ranked. Like, and then it's kind of sucks because they can have the recoil and stuff. But
I know for
just
me,
deal with it.
in particular, I stopped playing shooter games with the exception of Destiny because of crossplay. Like, I won't play Call of Duty anymore. It's just not fun.
Like I said,
I won't
knowing
'cause I'm not
knowing
that
the
good.
map intimately in Destiny 2 is just a huge advantage in Crucible. Like if you know the layout, you'll be fine. I usually run between like a 1.5 and a 2 KD ratio. Like if I'm into
Jesus.
Crucible heavy. But yeah,
All
the
right, and
turnaround
so
on Crucible. So Eric's was the
Eric's second,
was
toxicity
toxic
and competition.
yeah. I'm gonna have to agree that it's probably lower in like the competitive area.
I agree.
So yeah,
I thought
now,
his was.
As far as the take goes,
Oh.
yeah, I'm gonna give that one a 2. I don't think that's that spicy. I think toxicity doesn't really have anything to do with competition
Yeah.
or competitiveness. Toxicity comes from a troll attitude. It comes from poor sportsmanship, not necessarily whether it's competitive or not.
Which is Eric. Yeah,
Everyone
it's
would shit on me when I said that when you play ranked, you should be able to tell people that they can not
That's
play in
toxic,
things.
That's
It's not
toxic.
toxic to say that.
That's not competitive. Being competitive is just be like, I smoked you, dog.
Yeah.
Like,
This doesn't help
when
you
you play
win.
competitive.
This doesn't
When
help
you
you
play
get better.
competitive sports, you don't ever tell anybody like to get off the court if you're playing basketball or something, or
No,
like you should
no, I do
definitely
not.
play on your off time.
You know what,
You
Eric? Here's
sh-
what I'm going to tell you. Here's my take on that. If my 6-year-old daughter can shake her opponent's hand at a soccer game and say, "You did good. I can't wait to play again," you sure as fuck can too.
Oh,
Yeah,
kids should
but
absolutely do it, but not adults. Adults don't do it.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
no.
do.
like I'll
That
shake
happens to
your
me.
hand at an end of. I'll shake your hand at an end of a match. I'm gonna talk some shit the whole way through, mostly
Here-
in my head. Mostly
here's
in
the
my
thing,
head.
Eric.
See, I'll do it out loud
A week
because
ago,
they'll do it to
I
me.
went to a Friday Night Magic game. And I did really well. I didn't tell anybody to stop playing Magic. I shook hands and said, "You did really good. That's a cool deck, man." I didn't have to. I didn't have to
Go
gain
home
some
and
high
burn your
ground
card,
Yeah.
weeb.
yeah.
by putting people down. Knocking people over does not make you taller.
Yes, it does.
No, absolutely not.
That's how height works.
I'm not saying it does. I by no means am
just
saying that it
it's-
makes you a
I'm
better.
just saying
It's
fun. To shit
fun.
on people.
See,
It's
that's
fun
the
to mess
toxic part.
around.
This is toxic part. He does this to us
All
fans
right.
at this point. I know for a fact.
Yeah,
doing
he's
this to us
trolling
on
the shit out of
purpose.
us.
Yeah.
I can
Dude,
feel
Travis,
my-
you were in the army. At any point, there's no like every if sporting event, like even just getting like
It's
runs
a
that
little-
made no sense finishing first.
it's
How
a
many
little-
times do people shit on each other all day?
I feel like you're just
It
arguing
makes you
that
better.
the army
it
isn't
doesn't-
toxic, and I feel like it's pretty
The
toxic.
army's super toxic.
Yeah. And
I
Eric's
feel
like,
like-
that's just competitive.
Yes,
I
yes, it
I
is.
feel like,
That's
But
just
it makes you
competitive.
better.
but no, you're
Does it?
confusing like razzing somebody or teasing somebody or playing around with somebody as opposed to just being like, "Wow, you're really awful at this. Don't ever do it again."
I guess you could say that. I don't know.
Like,
I feel like it's all the same.
Because like if I'm
Like, I
having like a
teased
friendly
Travis.
competition, yeah, like if I'm
Yeah.
playing Magic with my wife, like I'll straight up just be like, "Oh, that was not a great move," but I'm not ever going to be like, "You should stop playing because you're awful."
Yeah.
And she'll tease me
Like-
back because every now and
Yeah,
then I'll
no,
mess
it's
up,
good.
and she's just be like, "You left yourself wide open, like I'm about to walk you." And I was like, "Probably."
Honestly, what it sounds like is you're trying to get higher in the ranks by making people quit instead of getting better.
Ah, he said you trash. See, that's the trash talking I'm talking
No,
about.
I don't actually think about
Like-
it like that. I just like to talk smack when I play.
All right, so we have 8 minutes left. Let's get to Clark's second hot
Yeah.
take.
Looks like I wasn't
ReZero
prepared.
is also not a great anime.
Wow, just back
Oh,
to
I
I
don't know
haven't
anything
never
about
watched
ReZero.
ReZero.
I hate the main character of ReZero. He's just
Who-
annoying. I could barely get through season 1, and it's considered one of like the better ones. It just
Is he as
he's-
bad as the main character from Is It Wrong to Pick Up Chicks in a Dungeon?
No, this guy like just. So the concept is he can at certain points in time rewind time to get to like do over, and
Doctor Who.
basically like as he's trying to like make the right choice through the storyline and like not get himself killed, every time he gets killed he rewinds to like a save point, and he's just like sniveling and annoying, and has, if you just like sit down for 5 minutes, 90% of his deaths would not happen, and
So
he's just annoying as all get out to me.
he's the main character equivalent of Zenitsu, just to bring it back to your Demon Slayer opinion, where it's kind of the crying and sniveling and poor me's.
No, he's just annoying. Like he doesn't.
She's
cry
like, no,
that much.
Zenitsu sometimes gets shit done.
Yeah, like he
Yeah, he
goes to
does.
sleep and then claps. Like
Yeah.
this guy just kind of like his power is to attempt to redo plot. But a lot of people love it. I also don't like jobless reincarnation Munutsu Tenkai. I did not say that right. But it's like the father of isekais, and I know you're not supposed to like the main character, but I have a rough time with him. I don't know what the tapping noise is either. I think
Oh,
it's
sorry.
Eric.
Yeah, I think Eric's fidgeting. It's
No,
obvious.
Antsy.
So-
He's just thumping his mic.
So-
That's
I didn't
like-
realize my mic was on. I thought I muted it.
Those are just my other like hot anime takes, and that time I reincarnated as the slime is the best isekai.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
mean,
super
I
familiar.
love that slime anime. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's
I'm
so
not super
stupid.
familiar
I
with
love it.
ReZero, but I do find that time I got reincarnated as a slime as. So that one's actually a weird one for me because I just told you guys I do not like stories about overpowered characters. That's why I don't do a lot of isekai, right? Because you always come back as this hyper overpowered character. Slime was different for me. I enjoyed the shit out of Slime. I liked it better than Overlord. I liked it better than a lot of
I
those.
hated. I could not stand Overlord. Oh my god, that character is so annoying to me too.
And I mean, my favorite anime of all time from any kind of like subgenre is still going to be Log Horizon.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do isekai for me. Like, I think Log Horizon is the example. But I loved that time I got reincarnated as slime. I thought it was fantastic and compelling. The characters were great, had a lot of development. So I agree with you on that one, but I don't have any stance on ReZero.
So,
I haven't
what's the
seen a
main
single
character like?
episode,
Who's he
right?
similar to? Like, name another anime. Like, is he
Yeah,
like an
can you give us a
Asta that
parallel?
screams a
Hard-
lot,
It's
or
hard to
like
just be
a?
like, he a bitch.
Him a
Have
bitch.
you watched Konosuba? Konosuba?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Then
We're in a
Am
pretty
I-
thick forest.
Yeah, you're
You need
like-
to get on the path.
Yeah, like-
these are all very popular animes. I just want you all to know.
I know
Oh,
ReZero
man.
is. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Like, I
Yeah.
know it's there. Like, I haven't gotten to it. Between like all these different things I'm doing, I haven't
He's
had a
just-
shot.
He feels worthless to me, but he's the main character. It's like if
Oh.
Sasuke was not Sasuke.
Sakura.
Sakura was the main character.
Fuck
Oh
Naruto.
God.
Anyways,
Oh,
my
God.
favorite thing about Naruto and Naruto Shippuden is getting to trash talk Sakura. Like, the memes from that are just the best.
This is
They're
them at
so
99% power, and it's because Sasuke doesn't have a
Sasuke
sword.
lost his sword, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Naruto's problems could all be solved if parents were just in the picture. All that teaches you is that if you don't have a parent, you're gonna become a supervillain. That's all I learned from Naruto. If I don't raise my kids, they're
Naruto
fucking
didn't.
becoming villains.
Naruto didn't
He
have
didn't
parents.
become
He's the only one that did, though. But like everybody else had parents, and like or
Sasuke
didn't have
didn't have
parents.
parents.
Look at him. What
Pain
the
Pain
first
had
bad guy?
parents. Or
No,
not Pain. Gara
Talking
had
about
parents.
Gaara?
Yeah.
Gaara did not have parents. His parents died. He killed them at a super
But he
young
had
age
them.
because they were
Yeah,
shitty.
but he had them. Yeah, they were bad.
Like
They were
all of
bad
them,
parents.
all the bad guys like had these super sappy stories.
It's
I'll
kind of
double
Anyways,
like
I
that.
got a
down and
super-
I'll say
I got a
Black
super hot
Clover's
take in a minute.
better shonen than Naruto.
It's that
I
old
do
joke
love
on
Black
you only
Clover.
get to be a hero in the DC universe if you get struck by lightning, are an orphan, or an alien.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
All
get
right.
hit by a truck.
we have 2 minutes, Eric.
I
What's
got-
your hot take?
Okay, 1 minute. We got to vote on this one. It's like a 2 for me, ReZero, because I haven't watched it yet. I'm
That's
sorry.
I gotta abstain on this one. I've never
Yeah,
eaten the dish.
I can't
so
vote because I haven't seen a single episode.
I just
I
know
have
it would
heard
blow
of
up
it,
in
but-
chat forums. Like
would it
chat
blow up
rooms.
in chat? If,
Yeah,
if it's
it's definitely
popular
caused
enough
some
where it
heat.
starts a fight, I'm
It'll
giving it
definitely
at least
cause
a
some
2, probably a 3.
I'll give you a 2. I'll give you.
All
I'll
right,
bump you up
quick,
to a 3
Eric.
on that one.
Pathfinder's better than D&D.
That's just a statement of fact. I don't.
I really thought people would not agree with this one.
No,
I've
like
never
here's
played Pathfinder.
Can I give
Pathfinder's
my
better
quick
than
opinion
D&D 5th. Yeah,
between Pathfinder and D&D real quick, Ryan? Because I know you can go super in depth on it.
No, it's good. We
D&D
only got 90
5e?
seconds. It's good.
D&D 5e is for players that have not ever played a tabletop RPG, and you need something fun, engaging that they can jump into easily, and the rules are very clear cut, and ambiguous to the point where your dungeon master, if they're doing their job correctly, can step in and intervene however is needed to get clarification. Pathfinder 1e and 2e are for those people that like to have a very significant mechanical crunch that occasionally turns into a tabletop RPG. They want a role that justifies every action. They want to be able to both act out their character and then have roles that support it and a very clear outline for it. It is a much more technical lick for 5th edition, which is like, and then you get the core rulebook, which I don't have next to my desk anymore, for Pathfinder 2e, and it's like that thick.
I haven't
It
seen
is
it yet. I haven't bought
super
it.
It's
It's a brick.
super crunchy. Yeah. And it's
It's
all very
no,
well defined. So I'm not going to
I
disagree
absolutely
with you.
agree with that. Now, I will say D&D 5th
God.
edition is still a great game. It's a great game.
100%.
It has a lot of problems, but it is a great game, especially for newer players. It's fantastic. I run a D&D 5th edition game every week. But Pathfinder is a superior system.
Wow, I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, so that's a 1. That's a 1 from me.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's
I'm gonna be
Exit
NA.
Rice.
I
Like,
just
Clark's just like, I just become a toxic player at the table for whatever the
Yeah,
setting
I
is,
just beat
and then
the
I
shit
don't
out of my
worry about
scribe.
rules. So,
all right, so you know what else is a hot take, guys? The hot take that we desperately need you to interact with this content.
like, follow, and subscribe. I beat you to it.
Like, follow, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Make sure you're checking us out on Spotify, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. It's not Twitter anymore, on X, and all that good stuff, guys. We really need you in this. We need your help with this. If you can, just give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. Now, as always, you listening in is more than enough for us four. You're the reason we do this kind of stuff. But you giving us that little bit of interaction is what lets us go to more platforms. So if you like listening to us go on and on about how Eric is toxic, give us a like. Give us some comments. And you know what? If you don't agree with us, we want to hear about that. Hit us up. Facebook, Twitter,
I'm
YouTube.
ready to
Tell us
argue.
why we're wrong.
Yeah.
And you know
I'm
what? If
always
there's interest,
right, so it doesn't
I'll
matter
give
to
you my
me.
mailing address so that you can send your hate mail straight
Don't
to
do
me.
that.
Oh, real
I have,
quick.
I have a PO box. It's okay.
Okay.
So this week I'm doing Orcs and Dorks. I'm reviewing that podcast. I just did Critically Stupid. That's a really interesting podcast. Playing D&D. One of the people is learning. The rest are kind of veterans to the game. Pretty cool. But Orcs and Dorks is interesting. Travis, you will love it. You should definitely check out Orcs and Dorks.
Orcs and
They
Dorks.
teach
I like the
Orcs is pretty
title.
solid.
I already
They
like
teach
the title.
history while also telling orc jokes and other things like that. And then they plug in, I think it's 19th century U.S. history, and it's British people.
I'm into it.
18-minute episodes. It is priceless so far. I can't wait to write up the review this weekend.
Ryan, what do you got?
All right. So, and the last thing, we've been plugging this for a couple episodes. I'm going to do it at least one more time. If you are a indie game developer, have an indie game you want to get the word out on, or even have a friend that's trying to get it working, hit us up. We are doing indie game reviews. They will be streamed directly to Twitch and to our accounts through Crossing the Nerdverse. If you have an indie game you want checked out, you want honestly reviewed, send it our way, talk to us about it, and we can get it out there for you.
But we won't do crossplay.
Yeah,
Kidding.
Ryan won't do crossplay. And with that, we're going to bring this episode to a close before we get onto another wild tangent, as we are wont to do. So we have been Crossing the Nerdverse. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys.
Ara ara.
Stay toxic.
God damn.